Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another discussion video, and today we're going to be talking about pretty much the horse requirement for certain upgrades. So this was a thread started by a player, and we have a lot of dev replies, like a lot. So we're going to try to keep it to one video, but we're kind of going to go a little bit faster just to get all the information out there. But alright, so let's get right into it. I'll link this down below for you guys. I'm going to go check it out for yourself, and let's do it. Alright, so title, the whole buy horse to level up troops to horsemen thing is illogical. So he disagrees with it. Okay. He states, I can get an Imperial recruit and level him up to a legionary that has juggernaut armor for the cost of a pack of arrows. But upgrading to horsemen requires buying horses twice. Why? All this is just to annoy the F out of the players. I think that should be removed, and horse troops should get 300 dinar horses themselves, just like legionaries get their 200k dinar armor themselves. All right. Before the dev reply, here's what I say. I think it's a good concept. I think it should be used more. I think that once a unit hits, either needs a horse, or let's say either hits like tier 4, or like for some of the bow guys, or let's say for if you want a crossbowman that you need to buy a crossbow for them, I think that needs to be a thing. But also you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to buy everything for everyone, because therefore the economy can't hold all that, and that will just crash the whole economy. It'll make it so every town has nothing to produce, and it would just be chaos. And another reason why this horse thing is used is for the economy. It's only used for the player, by the way, so it's not used for the AI. The AI don't do it because they already struggle with money doing all these other sorts of things, so it's kind of like a cheat for them. But I like the concept, and I think it should be utilized more than just for horses. Yeah, I don't think it's that annoying, in my opinion. I think if you look, there's a lot of villages out there that sell horses for very cheap, and you could get them in mostly every single town. So again, I don't think it's that crazy, in my opinion. But what do we got? I think it is realistic to provide horses for your army. True. But I guess always the comeback is, well, why not the armor itself? Again, it's way too complex, and it's just like, and I'm already having a headache just to try to figure out how they would actually code in, all these requirements. If there was requirements for every single troop, Jesus Christ, it would slow down the game like crazy. But yeah, what else we got? Think yourselves lucky you don't have to buy another horse every time a cavalryman has a horse shot from under them. Here's one thing. I think you should have to. I think if one of your horsemen loses their horse, you need to buy it again. I think you should. I think horses are so overpowered in this game that the requirement is good, and also I've said this before. I think the requirement is good. I think if they lose it in battle, I think you should have to buy it again. And also, I think you need to keep grain in your inventory to make sure they are fed. Same way as you keep food in your inventory for your troops, you keep grain in your inventory for all your horses and all your livestock that you have. If you have cows, if you have this, those all take up grain. If you don't have any grain in your inventory, the horses will start to die out. Boom. I think that should be in the game, 100%. Make it into a mod. I think it will be a very successful mod. That requirement should be there. Those requirements should be there. Horses are overpowered, but they're also supposed to be hard to maintain. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? I think they're completely overpowered. And I think this requirement is like the bare minimum. So I don't think it's that annoying, in my opinion, right? But again, it's all opinions over here. All right, Dev replies. Let's see what he has to say. All right, so this is a statement. I'm guessing, reply to the original person with the thread. All right, so Dev says, need of horse to upgrade horsemen troops is a good feature in many ways. Right. If this rule was not there, most players would try to reach horsemen troops all the time because they have several advantages compared to infantry troops, both at combat and at map speed bonus. Yes, they're overall the better unit to get. If you want to get infantry or horsemen, if you had the choice, and if they were relatively the same cost, of course you would get them. It should be a little bit more annoying to get horses because they are the stronger units. And again, I think this requirement is not enough. We need to have a way to maintain them. The same way as a horse becomes lame when it gets knocked off the player, make it the same way for the troops. If you don't command your troops well, if you send all your horses in and they all fall off the horse but they all survive, they shouldn't spawn with new horses next time. You should have to pay it because that's just what it is. You know? I think if they were to get even rid of this requirement, it would just be so easy. And I understand people like to roll over and just do really good in the game and feel like, boom, I'm the boss. But if the game is just too easy, then it's just like, you know? There's not much replayability. You want some struggle. You want some, some actual, sometimes to be a little bit annoyed. Do you know what I mean? Not too much. You don't want it to be over annoying, but you want, I think that requirement is good. And I think it's a start, and I think we need a lot more. All right. By this rule, we made reaching horseman troops a bit harder. Right. You can say why we are not paying other equipments or troops, and the answer to the question is making that kind of system needs so much work and balance and so much headache. Yes. To allow this high tier equipment needed for one troop should cost 2k at most. First, we need to make these equipments so cheap, and player will be able to buy them from the 10th day of a game with the first quest earnings, which is not good for gameplay. Also, as player, we should pay this cost to upgrade each troop, and maybe we can get 1 to 1.5k as return from old equipment. Still, in this case, you need to pay about 1k per troop. This can be a design choice. Another game can try something like this, but the system will make Bannerlord a completely different game. True. And also, if you were to do this, then they would have to, because whenever you get loot from enemies, right, you don't get all of their shoes when you beat them in battle. You don't get all of their chest plates when you beat them in battle. You get a percentage. I think it's like 10% or something like that. They would have to make it 100%, so then you could use that equipment you get to actually upgrade the troops, and it would be just so much micromanagement. And I know people who would love that, and I would love that too. Like an ultra realistic game, of course I would try it. But I don't think it's enjoyable to the majority of players, in my opinion. I think requirements like this are good, but if we keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, it might not always be good. While I always like that, I like playing RTSs a lot. So, they take a long time to kind of, there's a lot of deeper things in RTSs, like different strats, different ways to build, different this. So I like that. But, having this requirement for all troops, I can see can be a disaster. All right. As players, you need to earn 10k dinars each day to be able to pay these upgrade costs. If this was the case, maybe in this scenario, we can give all equipment from killed troops. Exactly what I just said. You know what I mean? Instead of a percentage. Yep. However, doing this will make winning a battle totally a very profitable action, and you will not need to do any trading actions or tax from settlements or nothing, because that will be very profitable. Yes. As I said, some other game can try this, but it will have completely different gameplay from Mount Blaze series and will have different dynamics. Yes. A player responds, I think people are fine with players buying horses for troops. I like it too. Yeah, I think it's decent. What I think most players have the problem with is the fact that AI cheat and don't eat. No, I don't think people have a problem with that either. If we don't get horses back on upgrade to Warhorse. No. I don't think people have a problem with this, because here's the thing. When do you meet an army that's mostly horses? Khazaits maybe, sometimes Vlandians. Empire usually always has like 10% or less in an army. Like, when do you usually meet them? The Karakajets. You know that long name that no one can really pronounce. Someone can, but I can't pronounce it. They're supposed to be kind of like a Khazait-esque mercenary group, and they have like 80% cavalry. Like, those guys are scary. But apart from that, there's not much AI that does that. You know what I mean? So I don't think that the cheat is good, by the way, for the whole economy. So again, I don't think that's that big of a problem. In all honesty, I think people who are upset with the whole upgrade cost for horse armor are not that many people, in my opinion. I might be wrong, though. You know what I mean? But I don't think so. All right, so Dev responds, I hope we can get rid of the AI cheat in the future. I want to remove it. If approved, it can be removed in future patches. Yes, eventually we can remove the the cheats, a lot of them are temporary, and we've had previous cheats that have been taken away or as time has gone on, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's that big of a deal. If every single AI would prioritize getting cavalry the same way a player can, because as a player, you can choose to go 100% cavalry. But as the AI, even with this cheat, they don't choose to go 100% cavalry. They still go for a balanced army, if that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Apart from the Khazaits, which are going for their unique unit, and their unique unit is horsemen, so you can't really blame them for that. All right. We have a player asking a question and then a response from the devs. So the player, I'd like to see more of this actually. I wish it was way more expensive and difficult to upgrade infantry to top tiers. Can upgrade costs be easily edited in the game files? Dev responds, it can be done easily. However, problem is there are actually no big power difference between low tier troops and high tier troops. For example, in a simulation, one tier 5 troop is equal to 3 tier 1 troops, and that's why sometimes you lose your high tier troops to a looter. Yes, and that's one of the things I think a lot of people like about this game, is that the tier 6 troops are not like these god amongst men that could go 1v10. If they're swarmed by 4 dudes and they're surrounded, they're probably gonna get taken down. You know what I mean? Even if it's 4 looters, you know what I mean? It's kind of realistic in that sense if you really think about it, and I think that's what a lot of people like. Like, there's no, even if you level up your main player with all the highest armor, all the everything, all the stats, you can still get destroyed by 4 looters surrounding you. You know what I mean? If you don't play it right. So I think that's very good game design, and I think that's what makes fights and sieges in Bannerlord and Mount Blade series in general so good. Do you know what I mean? Also, tier 5 troop wages is 12 a day, and tier 1 troop wages is 2 a day. I think this one's higher. I think it's like 16 or 17 if I'm not mistaken. In these conditions, if we were to make upgrades more expensive, people can stop upgrading their troops. First, we need to make high-tier troops more powerful than low-tier troops in both simulation and missions. Then we can increase upgrade cost / recruit cost of high-tier troops. Don't do this. I think the power dynamics are perfect right now. And the player responded, lol, really, 1 tier 5 is equal to 3 tier 1 should be a higher power difference? No, it shouldn't. You don't get it. It shouldn't. Well, maybe you should if you like that type of stuff, but like, there's a lot of games nowadays where it's just like the higher tier, the bigger, like, how can I explain this? It just makes it really unrealistic and really kind of stale, when in most games it's like, if this creature is level 45 and the other creatures are level 1, that means the level 45 creature will usually win against like 100 of these tier 1 creatures because he has so much more HP and so much more damage. And then it's just like, he's just a big meat shield because he has a lot more levels. I don't like that. You know what I mean? The thing about the difference between a tier 5 and a tier 1 in Bannerlord is like, they have better gear, they have better chances of success, but at the same time, they can't just face waves and waves of enemies. They're still human in a way. You know what I'm saying? They're not like these. They didn't. How can I explain this? They got better armor and stuff, so they'll negate more damage, but it's not like they got like, perks. Not perks. How can I say this? It's not like a tier 6. They got like this. Oh, they can't. They can't be. Like, arrows don't affect them. They're arrow proof, or they're this proof, or they're this. They don't get like these huge, like, how can I say this? They don't become too overpowered. Like, they're better overall in a 1v1, but they don't become too overpowered, and I think that's what a lot of people in the series like. I don't think people want these, tier 6 to be like these huge, like, overpowered dudes and stuff like that. I think just the power balance is so good, in my opinion. I might be lying, maybe not. I understand there's still some problems with, like, spears being very crazy and arrows being very crazy, but it's just like, I think it's good. In my opinion. And I don't think we should be super buffing the higher tiers. I think we're in a good spot, man. I think personally we are. Yes, change some weapon damages around, change some troop stuff around like they do in most patches, but don't go too crazy on it. I think it's in a good spot. I think it is, personally. Alright, my concern with making one stronger / more expensive troop is, of course, make AI actually pay for them too. In my opinion, there needs to be a big consequence for missing garrisons and party wages too. They need to immediately lose troops if they can't pay. Right now, about half of the lords are actually bankrupt if you take away their money cheats. Well, yeah, they are, but at the same time, okay, listen here. I don't know if you need to hear this from me, but I'm gonna just say how it is. You're way better than the AI because you are a human being. You can think of exactly what you want to do. You can outplay the AI with just mechanics that you can learn in the game. And I think they do need these cheats to actually stand up to you, if that kind of makes sense, right? You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to get at? And I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they. If you play smart, you'll beat them almost 100% of the time. If there's mechanics in the game where if you play it smart, you'll get to where you need to be. So I don't think we should get rid of those AI cheats until we have an actual permanent fix, because most of these cheats are kind of temporary. Dev responds, they have nearly no money cheat. What cheat you mentioned? The only one they do is horses to upgrade to horseman troops. They also have one where you can recruit one slot more than the player. They also can share money in between their clans if they're in the same kingdom. But again, I think those are good for gameplay, and I think if we take those away, you're going to be fighting against a lot of recruit armies, and then you're not going to have any fun because you're going to steamroll everybody. And then you're going to say the gameplay is stale because there's not enough big troops that are fighting against you. So in my opinion, I think them having those little shortcuts is not a bad thing. But, All right. He responds, any money cheat, I don't know the specifics of what they do, but often I feel lords have more men and they should be able to pay in the long run. Many of these guys do nothing but wander around and lose fights. It seems to me they must subside solely on free money. Look at this guy here. He has no money, no fiefs, no faction. And yet, what's behind him? Khan's guards. He's broke, but he persists to have a 100-man army, including some tier 6 troops. I wish he would help solve my village issues or something. Also, just to be clear, having better units is much more important to me than AI. Money balancing. I'd rather have the better, more expensive units and put up with the AI also having them when they don't deserve them. Again, but if you do this, the game is just going to become easy mode, and it's not going to be any fun. You know what I mean? If you steamroll the whole map with no opposition, are you gonna have fun like that? Like, you know what I mean? I get his point, and it might be cool for like one gameplay. You know what I mean? Or he might be a little bit more new, so he has trouble playing. But it won't be fun after first, second, third time. It'll just be like meh. Like, all right, let's play this easy game. Let's go play against my little cousin. You've played against a younger sibling before in a game, and you can completely destroy them, but you let them win and you act kind of dumb. That's how you're gonna have to play against the AI here. If they got rid of all the stuff that actually helps them out a little bit to make sure they stay on track. That's what's gonna happen, bro. It ain't gonna be good. But all right. Developer says, as Doc said, only clan leaders are responsible for finance a clan, so leaders make payment to members each day to make their budget 5,000 again. If they have lower than that amount, however, in some rare cases, if clan leaders have less money, they stop making payments and area lords start to get morale penalty. Same as the player and troops start to desert after morale threshold. And this right here is also what the player does to their companion parties. If their companion parties are not successful, then you will have to pay their wages. So it's very similar. The AI is very similar. Again, they have a couple of perks, but again, it's not making them super game breaking. Also, clan leaders get payment from kingdom budget, which is not a feature for the player kingdom yet. Exactly, I told you, they share money a lot better. However, all these kingdom budget is collected from clan leaders which have more than 100k money at the same kingdom. 1% of XE from 100k daily. They collected money distributed to poor clans slowly. Yes, they redistribute their money. In the screenshot, that is a rebel clan and its new feature, so there can be some problems with their economy. Maybe something like starting a game with 0 money. Ah, so this is a rebel clan, so obviously they're a little bit different. But yeah, again, my personal opinion, I think it's good that they have those temporary cheats until they can actually hold their own. But again, as the player, you have all the advantage. Maybe when the game first came out in early access, they were kind of overpowered. But right now, in 1.5.7, if you play it smart, if you do stuff right, if you get a little bit lucky, you'll beat AI most of the time. Like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Even on the hardest difficulties. That's just my take. All right, we have one more post right over here. So here's the player, and then we have a little response. All right, so player, have to agree with above. It's why I don't mind having to supply horses, even though it's an annoying feature. In some ways, it feels like a sensible enough restriction. That said, I'm completely endorse the idea that it should default to taking the lowest tier / cheapest warhorse in inventory, especially considering the cost between breeds. It's so annoying to have no control on what is used. Interesting. And then Dev says probably we can add using cheapest suitable horse / warhorse during upgrade. I noted it. Okay, I didn't know about that. Okay, that could be a nice little change. I really don't care about that. Like, yeah, I agree. There should be a way to kind of use the cheapest one first and then go, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. But that will do it for me. Just to wrap it all up, I think that this is a good requirement. I think we should pay for horses over time with grain. Not as much as we pay per troop, but it should be there. It should be a daily grain intake. And why I think this would work is because literally every town in the game carries a lot of grain. And also, grain villages are the biggest, they're the majority when it comes to village production. Grain is made literally throughout the map, like the most. You know what I mean? I don't know what the percentage is completely, but there's a lot more grain village than any other village on the map, right? But so I think it makes sense. I think that should be a thing. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Let me know if you agreed, you disagreed. It is what it is. But yeah, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.